Hey everyone, I hope you are doing well. So there is a lot of noise when it comes to MCP servers, and every single day a lot of new MCPs are popping up, and that is why I want to keep it lean and want to share with you the MCPs that would really help you in upgrading your workflows. So that is why I have been experimenting with this Git MCP since the past 2 weeks, and after only I really think that it helped me a lot. That is why I'm doing a video on it right now. Before this, I also wanted to do a video on Context 7, but while I was experimenting with it around day 3 or day 4th, I realized that it is not really accurate, and this is a much better successor as compared to Context 7. So let me explain a bit about Git MCP. So right now the problem with all the LLMs is that they have a cutoff date, right? So for example, if you want to integrate something into your code base, and for that you have a documentation, LLM won't know that exactly, and it would still install previous packages and outdated knowledge, etc. So for that, Cursor right now has two ways. So the first way is linking that documentation, and the other way is using the web search. So while it used to work well before, what I have seen is even with these two methods, Cursor hallucinates a lot. So for example, if you have added the documentation of Supabase, it will still someday, it will go through the internet and look for the latest documentation. Sometimes it will refer to the documentation that you have linked, which leads to a lot of hallucinated responses and also Cursor using outdated knowledge base. And that's where Git MCP comes in. So let's say you have a documentation which is hosted on GitHub. What you can do is you can just create an MCP for that GitHub repository, and you can call that inside GitHub. And this time, whatever Cursor does would be so much accurate as compared to all the other methods that you would be really amazed. I mean, I tried on multiple client projects so far, and this gave me the highest accuracy as compared to the context 7 MCP or the web search method or linking the documentation inside Cursor. And that is why I wanted to do this quick video around how you can use Git MCP inside your Cursor workflows and start pulling in the latest documentation of whatever service that you want to integrate. So in this example, I wanted to keep it simple, and that is why let's say that I have this starter repository that I want to clone inside a Cursor. So what you would have done in the past is you would have gone through it entirely. You would have gone through its README file. You would have, went through how you can get started using it, how you can clone the repository inside Cursor, etc. Or what you could have done is you could have just done a web search inside Cursor and asked it to pull all of the documentation of this particular starter kit. But now what you can do is you can just click on the URL, and if you replace GitHub with Git MCP and com with IO and click on enter, you will see that it opens up a page inside Git MCP. And what it does is it creates an MCP server specifically for this GitHub repository, which you could just set up inside Cursor or Windsurf, does not really matter, and you can start talking to the GitHub repository. And this time the response would be much more accurate because right now it exactly knows what GitHub repository has all of the documentation. So that is why the code that it would write would not be hallucinated and would be as accurate as possible. So as you can see, we have support for multiple AI assistants like Cursor, Cloud Desktop, etc. In this case, I'm going to go ahead with Cursor. So what you can do is you just have to copy this, and if you go inside Cursor, then just click on Settings button and click on MCP. Now, as you can see, I have already configured it. Let me switch it off for now. So if you are setting it up for the first time, you will be able to see this button. As you can see, add a new global MCP server. Just click on it, and from here you will be able to add the configuration for an MCP. So for example, I copied this, right? So I can just go ahead and I can add it here, and if you click on save, now this would be active inside here, and you will be able to start accessing it directly from the composer. As you can see, we can see the green dot, which means that now it is available for you to chat with inside the composer. Now let's say that you want to add multiple MCPs, and I remember that some of you guys were even asking that if you could have multiple MCPs. The answer is yes, you can definitely have multiple MCPs. It would be as simple as just copying this part of the MCP server. So let's say this is Supabase MCP server. You will just have to copy it, and you can just add a comma here, and you can add it here, and then you will have another MC server saved inside Cursor. For now, let's keep it simple, and that is why I started from scratch, but a detailed video on MCP is coming up really soon. According to the syllabus, I think it is around in week 4. So yeah, stay tuned for it. And inside that, I will talk everything about MCP that you have to know, and all of the important MCPs that I have been using since past few weeks in order to boost my workflows. So yeah, getting back to the topic. So as you can see, now we have this MCP server configured inside Cursor. So you can just, go ahead and ask Composer to set up this starter repository for you. But before we do that, I've also wanted to show you that no matter what GitHub repository documentation you have opened, there's also this option of, chatting with that documentation. So let's say you have a documentation and you want to understand how some things happen. Then what you would have done in the past is you would have, gone through the entire readme file. You would have then compared it with the file structure that you currently have, and then you would have tried to make sense of it all. But now Git MCP also gives you a feature via this chat interface where you can even talk to the entire documentation. So if you have any questions, you can just put that question in a natural language and it will go through the entire repository and give you answers. So let's say I want it to summarize the entire repository for me. So let me do that. Could you please summarize the entire repository for me and let me know what exactly is it? Also inside this, you have multiple models and you can also set up your API keys from here. These are not like really strong models, but these are more than enough. So yeah, let me click on enter. And now what it will do is it will go through the entire GitHub repository and it will, start implementing your query. So let's see the response. So as you can see, here is a summary of the Next.js SaaS starter repository. It gave you the repository overview, the key features, the tech stack, the setup process, and deployment notes. So let's say if you have any question around Stripe, you can just ask it. So let me do that. Okay, so I just set up this repository inside VS Code. Now, how exactly can I set up Stripe? Could you please give me the exact steps as mentioned in the documentation? So this is a great, starter kit. And in the beginning, when I used to, build products for my clients, I used to use this SaaS starter only. But now things have changed and we don't really use any SaaS starter. But over time, what we have done inside the agency is we have built our own SaaS starter. So we use that only for our clients in order to, set up a project really quick. So yeah, as you can see, it gave me all of the steps on the basis of the documentation and how I can test the payments, how I can set up the webhooks internally, etc. Feel free to ask it any question or whatever you have in mind. So yeah, this is a really great feature that you can start using today. So let me get back inside Cursor, and now I want to set this project up for me inside Cursor. So let's switch to the ask mode because I always like, asking Cursor to tell me its approach before we dive into implementation. So let me ask it. I want to set up the SaaS startup project inside the current directory. Could you please give me all of the steps that you will be taking in order to do so? Ensure that this is the correct keyword, and it is smart enough to know that you have an MCP configured for SaaS startup projects. Once I know which project you mean, I'll outline the steps. Okay, so maybe I did not use the exact keywords. Let me try it again. Please give me all the steps to set up the SaaS starter project inside the current directory. Please refer to the SaaS starter documentation for it. There is some error. When this happens, just click on refresh and it will take care of it. Let it turn into green and then let me click on enter. So as you can see, it was able to identify that we have to, call this MCP server. So click on run tool and let's see what happens. So as you can see, it is already giving me all of the steps. Just click on run and it just cloned the repository as you can see. Now it will navigate into the project directory, click on run. Now it is going to use pnpm to install the dependencies. The best part is now no matter what the documentation is, so let's say it is for Versal AI, it would follow the official documentation and it will write down the exact steps without hallucinating. It is not searching the internet, it is not looking for a documentation, it is directly referring to this documentation that we opened, the GitHub documentation that we opened. And it is giving the exact steps that are mentioned inside this. So nothing can be more accurate than this. Then it is also asking me to click on Stripe login and let it do everything. I mean, it will just guide you through all of the steps. So yeah, pretty much it. I mean, you can just go through everything, and if you have any questions, you can either ask the chat interface for it, or you can ask Cursor directly. So yeah, I mean, I've been using this since past 2 weeks, so that is why I wanted to share it with you guys. And I really think that currently this is the best way of fetching documentation of anything that you want to integrate into your code base. Just make sure that they have a GitHub repository for it and it is public, and then you can use the exact same workflow in order to pull in the latest documentation, and then ask Cursor to set everything up for you according to it. So yeah, also I have been experimenting a lot with Claude 4 and it is really amazing. So I'll be doing a detailed video on that as well in the future. But yeah, that is it for today's video. I hope you like it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me and I'll see you inside the next video. Thank you so much.